So we're a few days into XDefiant's first season, and there's been some good, there's been some bad. So today I wanted to take a bit of time with you here this weekend and give my rundown and review of what we've had on offer when it comes to XDefiant and Season 1. Feel free to chime in with your thoughts on the season thus far, and of course, if you guys enjoy the video, do me a favor and drop a like on it, and subscribe to the channel for more XDefiant and other FPS coverage. I'd love to have in the community. Finally, my friends over at Gamer Advantage are running a 24% off site-wide discount where code Espresso can stack to get you 34% off your entire order, but we'll talk about that a little later. For now, let's talk about the review here of XDefiant Season 1. So let's start out with the content side of things. Frankly, the content I'm liking. The content offering this season thus far includes the new weapons. Personally, I haven't ranked up my pass enough for the L115 or the double barrel, though I'm excited to get to those at some point. I'm not going to pay for the tiers because it gives me something to grind out, for one. Plus, I'm not really going to main either of those weapons, so I'm not going to put like $40 into tier skips on a weapon that I'll use here and there, but I am excited to unlock it when I get to it eventually. The LVOA, on the other hand, has felt pretty fun and pretty good. Really liking it once I got it kitted out more. At the very beginning, I really wasn't too big a fan of it. It kind of felt like a pea shooter, but it is one of those things, once you kit it out properly, you get some extended mags on it, which I think the extended mags is absolutely a necessity on this thing in my opinion. But you take it into close quarters, arena, Pueblito, parts of the new clubhouse map, it can absolutely thrive. So been loving that under the right conditions. And speaking of clubhouse, decent map, depends on the mode and the matchup you have with your team and the enemy team. I think it's a very predictable map, we'll say, where you can either control or have it controlled for you. So it's really hit or miss based on your team and what mode you're playing, the spawns that each of those modes afford, but really allows for plays for most engagements. I mean, mid is an open area. You can see rifles and even sniper rifles thrive there. Inside, it's mid-range SMG heaven. Same with that back garage and then the sort of storage room with the dance floor in the middle of it by that garage. That stuff is SMG heaven, maybe even shotgun heaven. A little bit of everything for everyone on that map. Rockefeller, for when it was in the game, I think that it's taken out, but on day one, it was there in a few playlists. That was an absolute blast as well. I actually cannot wait for that map to come back because it's pure chaos. Like, it is shipment for XDefiant in my opinion. I'm here for that. CTF is fun, way more fun in a party, but also with matchmaking, it's parties versus parties you're likely going to get, so might get a bit sweatier, so take that trade-off how you will. The battle pass has some cool skins in it. Looking forward to working towards progressing that more and more, though honestly, I'm a little disappointed that we do have some of the continuing sort of like themes from the preseason. We didn't get a full reset on stuff. Like, to see the disruption skins again here, it's one of those things that, like, I feel like it's almost filler at that point, which it is what it is, but that's just me being like nitpicky perhaps. And I love the look of the new mastery camos. Really stoked to get more time played so I can work towards the titanium prism on a few weapons. Really bummed out that for the last 4 to 5 days, I really haven't been able to play a whole ton. Like, probably the day after the update launched is when I really started to have an issue with my PC where I needed to order a few replacement cables from my PSU to GPU. So I'm hoping that issue is fixed, and I know that the timing of that sounds incredibly sus, incredibly weird, but I had that be an issue even before the Season 1 launch, and on it's every game that I play. So not just XDefiant. It's not like the game has fried my PC or anything, but I mean, we'll talk about there's a lot of issues that you could think that. I've enjoyed, in theory, some of the tuning changes here at this with like the balancing for factions so far. I love that you don't get your spider bot as much. Of course, the spider bot still is insanely OP right now because you don't have the ability to shoot it off like you did in the preseason. That fix is coming soon to bring that ability back. I also really enjoy the fact you can destroy the bubble shield with EMPs now. I like, even though I use it, the Echelon Intel Suit nerf. I think that's a good start and push in the right direction towards balancing. So there's of course definitely some nice stuff in there, even though it may not have hit the mark 100% of the way there. Ranked play, for all its problems, there's one underlying fact that I do really love. All rewards are retroactive here with this season and beyond. We'll touch on the problems here in just a second because that'll be a jumping off point into the downsides of this update, but I do love that ranked rewards for players are rewarded as they are right now. I'm not the biggest fan of the rewards that we have, but the system in place, absolutely a win. For those that don't know, wherever you finish at the end of the ranked play season, you end up getting everything that you pass through that entire way, plus that highest rank you end up earning, the rewards associated with that. So let's say you hit diamond but finish in emerald. If that's the case, that means you'll end up getting the bronze reward, the silver reward, the gold reward, the ruby reward, the emerald reward, and the diamond reward. So everything that you came across, even if you didn't finish in diamond, everything that you came across on your progression to your highest level, that's what you end up earning as a ranked reward for the season. That's the one thing that I honestly really hate about Modern Warfare 3 and Warzone's ranked system, and also what we had last year with Warzone 2 and Modern Warfare 2. You just end up getting what your highest division was, and along the way, you don't get anything else besides that. So like if you got to iridescent and you wanted like a couple of those camos, you're kind of screwed because you just get that iridescent camo, which a lot of the times I think was one of the better looking camos, but like there were also some cool ones along the way with like platinum and diamond. Crim had some cool camos along the way as well. So like you only get that one versus here, you end up getting everything you pass through. Now, of course, there are still plenty of problems with ranked. Matches will often start before players have a full team and will then start a man, 2, sometimes 3 down, which makes it basically an automatic loss. Ranked matches will not award a player with points in a win if they're dead at the end of the match. That's something that should have a fix coming soon, but still shouldn't happen. There's frequent disconnects in ranked, which of course leads to men down and an imbalance in the actual ranked system. There's right now a really big problem where everybody ends up using the phantoms, which grants you more HP than anybody else. So of course, that's not something that seems super balanced. But all of this then leads to the laundry list of items and issues that have been noted since the season's launch, but are still, of course, massive problems for the game. Netcode feels way more noticeably different in regards to the sort of lows that you experience. While I don't think, again, as we mentioned, that it's necessarily 100% worse than it was before the season, the lows are absolutely noticeable by and far. You, of course, still have those frame rate issues that may persist. They did put out an emergency update, but I've seen some reports that it still has persisted for some users, both at 60 Hz and 120 Hz, where you're dropping well below 60 FPS, down below even 20 FPS often. You, of course, still have faction issues with Echelon, DeadSec, Libertad, Phantoms, and the Cleaners. Sometimes those abilities won't even activate, which, of course, is a huge problem. Aim assist and a lot of the settings have actually reset for players after the update. Stats are currently not tracking, so like your last 10 doesn't matter. And again, that's just a part of the laundry list of issues that right now, yes, the season absolutely is a broken mess in a lot of different areas. Now, the only nice part following all of these issues is that right now it's been noted that a lot of them are noted, fixes are on the way, the team is aware of just about every single one that we just mentioned and more. That is incredibly nice to hear, because if we were talking about Call of Duty, a lot of that stuff would go unmentioned for like weeks at a time. I mean, that was kind of the whole story of Modern Warfare 2's entire year of post-launch support. You had something that broke at the seasonal launch. Infinity Ward didn't care at all to put out an update to fix the game before the next seasonal update, so you had issues that would last for a month at a time, sometimes upwards of 3 to 4 months at a time. I remember Warzone 2, the stim pistol, that was something that if you had it in your inventory, you just insta-die, you wouldn't go down or anything like that. That kind of stuff persisted for months, so it's at least nice to see that things are acknowledged and fixes are on the way. I'm not excusing that the problems are out there. Absolutely, we should be critical of that kind of stuff. But again, that's just the sort of the nice differentiation here between the situations at hand following seasonal launches. But honestly, my overall biggest concern for the season, this kind of stuff is going to get fixed. That is absolutely not going to be something that persists the entire season with this kind of thing. Those things are going to have emergency updates and fixes to fix all of those issues. But my overall biggest concern for the season at large is the longevity of Season 1. I mean, this is going to sound a bit odd, and maybe it's not necessarily the best comparison, but XDefiant Season 1 lasts 90-ish days total, right? We don't really have a whole ton of content by comparison left to last those 90 days. Call of Duty seasons are around 60 days, and you have about, like, maybe 5/8 of an update granted up front, and then 3/8 granted at the mid-season update. But for this, it's a little more top-heavy. I really like the seasonal launch content thus far, again, minus, of course, the bugs, stability issues, and all the things that come with that we've already talked about, but the content on hand, it's been fun. I think that with XDefiant, it'll be a much more, air quote, new feeling later on in the year when we have even more maps added to the map pool, whereas even just after 6 weeks of the preseason, they're still the same maps that we had seen for a year since the beta, but that's just something that'll happen in time. Like, honestly, Modern Warfare 3 after 4 season finally feels like a new game to me when it comes to the map pool. But when I look towards the duration of the season, there's not a whole ton of things that we have to look forward to as a reason to keep players coming back week over week, you know? Like, there's no seasonal mastery camo, no challenges associated with the overall season, but while you have things like Rockefeller and Daytona as new maps, that's only 1 per month. We have Bomb coming, but beyond that, nothing known in the way of additional game modes throughout the season. We don't have any other weapons unless they decide to hot drop out of nowhere a couple of ones, because everything we see right now is in the Battle Pass. But after the next few weeks, I totally would get why people would maybe stop playing as much, because you're just going to have the same game for the next 2 months per se. Like, yes, you'll have one new map introduced to the fold per month, but kind of about it, unless you're doing some weapon tuning, some faction balancing to kind of mitigate here and there a little further. There's not a whole ton that is on the horizon until, well, September, I think it is, for the Season 2 launch is what it's currently slated at. But that's my biggest concern, is like, how do you keep the game interesting to not only just the diehards, but like the general player base? That's the thing that we got to remember. The general player base is always what dictates these kind of things, because the general player base is who is going to increase or decrease a player count. But like, no matter what way you spin it, that's the whole sort of hurdle of live service, is how do you keep players playing for those elongated periods of time outside of those sort of like peaks of a new seasonal drop? How do you incentivize players to not leave even during that sort of dry spell over the next 2 months or so once we get 30 days into the season? So that's a big hurdle that the XDefiant team is going to have to try and overcome. For us, all we can really do is theorize, and for fans, hope for the best that it still keeps up throughout the next couple of months upcoming before the next seasonal launch as well. But anyways, that's my review on XDefiant Season 1 and what I've felt so far with it. Some really good, some bad along the way, and some just unknowns in the future. So that said, that's where we're going to wrap it up. Before we do, though, make sure to check out my friends over at Gamer Advantage, who, for a short window of time, have a site-wide 24% off discount where code Espresso can stack to give you 34% off your entire order. That's one of the best discounts of the year so far. But if you guys want to check out what I firmly believe are the best bullet glasses on the market, now's as best a time as any. I've worked with these guys for 3 years now. Cannot recommend them enough. They're the most lightweight, comfortable, and durable frames on the market as far as I've used, and I definitely think they've helped my daily productivity. Now, full transparency, they're a bit more of an investment, but I do think your vision is absolutely worth investing into, especially if you're like me, looking at a monitor, phone, or gaming for a good chunk of the day. If you guys would like to learn more, at the very least, I'd recommend checking out their website, where they can better break down the science and all the specifics of what they have on offer way better than I could. But what I can personally say is that I'd highly recommend them through the 3 years that I've been working with them. But if you want to learn more, check the link in the description below. And if you want to pick something up for yourself, use code Espresso to get 34% off your entire order for a limited time. But for now, that's what we're going to call it. Let me know your thoughts down below. What do you guys think of Season 1 thus far and to date? Like it, dislike it, have some high hopes for what's to come in the future. Whatever the case, drop your thoughts down below. But if you enjoyed the video, you found it at all insightful, do me a favor and drop a like on it. And if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single thing regarding all things XDefiant and even more FPS coverage. I'd love to have you. But for now, thanks so much for watching. Mine has been Espresso. I'll see you later. Take care and peace.